How did I become comfortable in my own skin? And what is the story of my dragon tattoo? Thank you, Jaslyn Beck of Gonzo Today, for the wonderful question. Well, it's interesting that it's all part of the same question. I remember when I was 13 years old, I was always the youngest. I started school when I was 5, and because I was eager to go to school. I wanted to learn. I wanted to hang out with my friends. And so I went through puberty later than anybody else in my class, and puberty was a nightmare for me because, well, everybody else had already gone through it, and I was waiting, counting every hair. And so when I was 13, I was sitting on the bleachers at a basketball game, and I'd been a starting guard on a basketball team every year, and the schools had consolidated, and I was a sophomore at Ohio County High School, and I was the last person cut from the team. I was 5'4" until between my junior and senior year. I graduated from high school when I was 17, so when I was 16, I shot up in one summer from 5'4" to 6'1". So I was 13. I was sitting in the bleachers and watching a game, and all of a sudden it hit me hard. I realized I'd always wanted to be, I was always myself on the inside, but I felt like I had to be somebody else on the outside. But I always wanted to be a pirate. I always wanted to have my ears pierced, and I wanted to have tattoos. And I wanted to sail the 7 seas. I wanted to journey and adventure and see the world. And I always loved to travel. And I was blessed to have a Waylon Render, who's a relative, who was Speaker of the House for a time for the Kentucky legislature. And Waylon would take my brother and me, Brad, to the University of Kentucky, University of Louisville basketball and football games, and Cincinnati Reds baseball games, and we sat behind the bench of Adolph Rupp, and we heard everything that was said. We met all those people, and I loved all that. I've been an athlete all my life, but we're complex human beings. All of us are. I did everything I could to represent our complex nature in my book, Beaver Dam Rocking Chair Marathon, with 2 books in one, which it took me over 20 years to write. And I had a book deal I was worked on with Grove Atlantic in New York City with a big advance dangling in front of me. I worked with them for 3 years, and I realized they just wanted another Tobacco Road, Erskine Caldwell, a Tobacco Road book, and a stereotypical hillbilly story. But I wanted to show how complex us Kentuckians are and how complex I am. So as a boy, little by little, but when I left, I started becoming myself. I fought to be myself. I always knew I was a poet, but it wasn't really until I left home when I was 17, never wanting to return. It was like I had a love-hate relationship with Kentucky. I grew up in a brutal and gentle environment. And so in the desert of Arizona, near the California-Mexico borders, I'd moved to, was living in Arizona. I went out one day and met a Hell's Angel and had tattoos put on my chest. And it was a long time ago. And he was a nice guy. He had the swastikas and German helmets everywhere and the number 13 everywhere. But, I'm always looking for ways to get along with people. I respect our differences, all our beautiful differences, but I'm always looking for our common ground. And I've discovered in my world travels and poetry, being a poet's taken me all over the world, I've found that no matter who I hang out with, who I visit, brief encounters or long hangoutologies, that we have much more in common than we have different. So the Hell's Angel and I got along great, but he did a lousy ass job on my tattoos. So a while later, back in Kentucky, I had a biker who had a tattoo shop, do some more work on them. They were on my chest. And then I won a couple of scholarships and studied briefly at the International Graduate School at Oxford in England. I studied under Valentine Cunningham, the head of English literature. And I found while I was there, I did everything I could. I stayed busy and met people. It was incredible. And I found an artist who happened to do tattoos. And so 2 days before I left, I was out of money, which, I'm a barter is my main income. Always has been growing up on a farm. I still barter whenever possible. Equal exchange of goods and services. And so I bartered this cat a Seiko watch, the gold watch. Somebody had given me as a gift, and some gold pins, as a thank you to me for going to Oxford and winning those 2 distinctive scholarships. And I traded a couple other things to this guy to finally do these tattoos that had started with the Hell's Angel in Arizona desert to get them right, and he got them right. And there's every tattoo I've gotten, and I got lots of them. They have deep symbolism for me. I always think them through, and I hear people say, "Oh, when you get older, won't you regret having tattoos?" I've been wanting tattoos since I was a kid. I love every tattoo I've got. They're beautiful, and so I always wanted. I love dragons. I always loved dragons and the symbolism, the deep symbolism, the ancient wisdom of the dragon. And and I always design my tattoos before I get them. And I go, just like all the publications I've done, the posters I've produced, I go to the graphic designer with the layout. I do all the layout, the artistic layout. And so I went to this guy who was an ex-Marine. This is the dragon tattoo I have on my back. I had 12 sessions done, and I have a high pain threshold. High. And this guy inflicted some of the worst pain on me that's ever been inflicted in 12 sessions. He finally admitted to me, the last session, he said, I was a Marine. I love inflicting pain on people. And he said, I dig in with all the needles, the head of when they're putting the tattoo in you, you got all these needles sticking in you at the same time. And he said, I dig it in as deep as I can. He scarred my back badly. I had a lot of scars from it, but I wouldn't turn and walk away. But when he told me he was doing that intentionally, I never went back to him. And then my friend Lisa K. Worley, who was in my band Southside, incredible person, she came on board, and she said that she would make it right. She would correct the damage that had been done, and so she took over in 64 sessions over a 5-year period of time. Some of them lasting, these are 1-hour sessions, some of them lasting 2 and 3. The last session lasted 5 hours. I doze off in some of those sessions. Lisa Kay has a gentle touch as a tattoo artist. The gentlest of all tattoo artists I've been to, and I've been to a lot of them. I dozed off. I actually went to sleep in some of those sessions. That's how high my pain threshold is. And so she finally completed it a year ago. And I'll shoot her a photo of it. Jen Bug has taken some photos of the giant dragon tattoo on my back. And it's got right above the giant dragon tattoo, there's a little symbol that I signed after my name. It's an ancient Zoroastrian symbol it represents a human being. It's a circle over a square over a triangle. That's like the signature on the dragon at the top of my back. And it symbolizes, the circle represents love, the square represents power, the triangle, wisdom. It's the balance of those three, love, power, and wisdom. Not too much of one or the other. If you have too much love, people will walk over you. If you have too much power, you'll walk over people. If you have too much wisdom, you'll be cold and calculated and heartless. So it's the balance of all three that makes the ideal human being. Who's an ideal human being? None of us. But if we have ideals, we can strive towards that goal of having the balance of love, power, and wisdom. So that's the quick story of how I became who I am. God, I should talk about finding my voice as a writer. We'll have to save that for another story. That was a great breakthrough when I found my voice as a writer. Okay, I found my voice as a writer by revisiting my past, going back to my childhood and remembering the stories, including the painful stories, the beatings, the terrible beatings that I got, and embracing those, not running away from them, but facing and embracing them. That helped me break through to see the incredible, beautiful stories, the wonderful happenings of my childhood that initiated a healing in me. And that's when I started writing those stories down. And then my healing began. I found my original voice as a writer and as a person. Writing is a healing art. And so now when you look at me, I decided when you look at me on the outside, the tattoos you see, this dragon I got on my cheek, I got it in Estonia right before, in Tallinn, Estonia, an hour before a tour of the whole country I did. I got done, this red-headed Russian woman, tattoo artist, I walked in and she gave me this tattoo. I got done and I walked on the stage 5 minutes before the show started with my new tattoo. That was 3 years ago. I love it. I love all my tattoos. Thank you. Bye.